What does it take to make sure millions of packages and documents are delivered on time every single day? It takes a hub, a giant hub. UPS Worldport in Louisville, Kentucky is one of the biggest logistics centers in the world. For the people working here, every second counts.
Every window that you miss is an opportunity lost.
It has its own airline, ton after ton of cargo, over 400,000 packages per hour. In short, it's a logistics colossus. Now on giant hubs. Louisville in the U.S. state of Kentucky. This city has been a transshipment point for millions of packages since 1982, day in and day out. And UPS Worldport in Louisville has been growing ever since. At the 125 dock positions, planes are constantly being loaded or unloaded. Over 2.5 million tons of cargo every year. And this figure is growing all the time. 11:30 in the morning. Lots of packages start their journeys in an interim warehouse, like here in Elizabethtown, 70 kilometers away from UPS Worldport. Lots of firms outsource the storage of their products here. Today, Hazel Check is laying the groundwork for the timely delivery of a very special package, a motorcycle gasoline tank from the brand Triumph. We are joining it as it makes its journey to Seattle, 3,000 kilometers away.
I'm gonna scan the ticket. There it went. Then we're gonna look at our ticket. And on our ticket, it tells us which way to go. So we're gonna go down to aisle 300.
To save on space, an increasing number of companies are storing their products directly with logistics firms. UPS runs a number of these interim storage locations all across the U.S. The warehouse in Elizabethtown has 100,000 square meters of space.
If the package comes in and it's sealed up, we do not open it.
It's a booming market. These days, logistics start a long time before the freight is actually dispatched. In the U.S. in particular, logistics companies are locked in constant battle with one another. Deals with key accounts are especially lucrative and help to boost revenue. These interim warehouses improve customer loyalty. Companies get UPS to store their products for them. The logistics giant provides clients with storage space and, in return, often wins the delivery contract too. A win-win situation for both parties. Capacity levels depend on when the major public holidays are. However, peak periods for delivery can also occur depending on the season.
For this department, right now, it's peak season, I guess, because summer. Everybody's got their bikes.
In Seattle, the customer is hoping to hit the road on his new motorcycle by tomorrow. However, the package is still missing its most important detail, its barcode.
And it's ready to ship.
The barcode is like a life insurance policy for each and every package. Even the Triumph motorcycle tank can be clearly identified amongst all of these packages. One in the afternoon. our parcel is leaving the warehouse in Elizabethtown. It's heading for UPS Worldport in Louisville. Over 21,000 semi-trucks are deployed all over the world. Louisville is the perfect location for a logistics hub for two main reasons. Its population is just 600,000 people. That's relatively small by American standards. However, its location is the decisive factor. Louisville is located more or less in the center of the U.S. From here, UPS packages can be sent to almost anywhere in the States within a maximum flight time of 4 hours. Another advantage, a small city only needs a small airport with few passenger services. 3.4 million passengers a year. That's quite a contrast to the 100 million or more passengers at Atlanta Airport. UPS Worldport and the International Airport share a 600-hectare site, and yet the passenger airport only takes up a fraction of the space with its mere 20 gates. In contrast, the Worldport area is huge, a good 4 times as large. In addition to the benefits of extra space, it also has access to a wealth of free takeoff and landing slots. 1:45 in the afternoon. The truck carrying our parcel arrives at UPS Worldport. Its first stop? The truck unloading dock. 2 workers manually transfer every package to the conveyor belt, and there's 2 of them for a reason. They ensure that even the heaviest packages can continue their journey. Almost anything can pass by on the conveyor belts here, even fresh fish or fruit. Our package is now under the care of Samuel Johnson and his team at the Operations Planning Control Center, OPC. Whether there's a technical defect, corrupt barcode, or delays to a delivery, the crew have to solve any problem in the blink of an eye. Samuel Johnson has been working here for over 20 years. He's the man who makes the decisions, and the man in charge of making sure Worldport's equipment runs smoothly.
OPC is responsible for making sure that the facility runs and runs well, and that no matter what minor defect we may have with equipment, that we make appropriate ad hocs and make sure the facility is running well.
The Operations Center is the monitoring headquarters for the package conveyors at Worldport. After all, stationary conveyor belts mean one thing for UPS: lost time. And that is expensive in the logistics industry. 33,245 conveyor belts stretch over a total length of 250 kilometers, all controlled in shifts. This makes UPS Worldport the largest automated package handling facility in the world. The key to a seamless process? The barcode. 576 camera scanners are installed throughout the hall using the latest and cutting-edge technology. These scanners make sure that every package is on the right belt based on its code, and that the bins tip over at the perfect moment to make sure they get to the right place. And all this with a maximum capacity of up to 416,000 packages per hour. The employee entrance is located right at the very south of UPS Worldport. "10 at night. Time for Tyler Sawvell to start his shift. He has been working at this huge package facility since he graduated with a degree in logistics. He works 5 nights a week, starting work at a time when most people are heading off to bed.
Right now I'm headed to the shuttle to get on to head to Wing B. Once I go to Wing B, then I'll get my soups prepared to start the night and go from there.
Tyler has a 6-hour shift ahead of him. As a supervisor, he is responsible for loading and unloading the cargo planes as quickly as possible. And how much leeway does he have in terms of time? Zilch. Particularly for overnight deliveries, which make up the majority of the freight. For Tyler, this means there isn't a minute to lose. His destination? Wing B. One thing Tyler knows for sure, tonight he's got to transport freight. A lot of freight at that, from A to B. However, one thing he can't be sure of, what kinds of challenges and problems he will have to deal with tonight.
Yeah, so basically I'll come in at the beginning of the night. I'll check my email and kind of see what our notes are for the rest of the sort and how the sort's going to pan out. And then I'll meet with my frontline soups. We'll discuss our plan for the night, what our focuses are going to be. And then from there, we'll gather our staffing up and we'll head out to the operation to start the night off.
Teamwork and clear instructions are an absolute must. On a regular shift, Tyler leads a 20-strong crew. They prepare 5 to 6 planes for departure, which adds up to some 500 tons of freight. They have just 45 minutes for each plane, and that includes loading and unloading. It's a pretty tight window, and tonight, the weather will make it hard to meet this target.
We should have a little bit heavier volume tonight with Father's Day coming up. I'm looking at where our inbounds are going to come in right now so we can go monitor the inbound flights as the volume comes in and arrives. That volume will go into the unload, and then we'll come back out, see how that process is on the outbound, and then as it goes out to the outbound aircraft.
Once unloaded from the plane, the freight ends up here, the central point at UPS Worldport. This is where all packages come together. It's known as the core. Conveyor belts with a total length of 250 kilometers transport the packages all over the logistics facility. These conveyors could easily link the cities of New York and Pennsylvania. UPS Worldport handles 118 packages per second. At its very peak around the Christmas season, this can reach up to more than 4 million packages a day. Everything has to reach the right destination as quickly as possible. The core is almost 200,000 square meters. The hall is therefore big enough to comfortably house as many as 16 jumbo jets. Our motorcycle tank is also on its way around the hall. Every package spends between 8 and 45 minutes on the conveyor belt. This all depends on how many junctions it has to pass through on its way to the right container. 10:45 at night. The core is awaiting new freight. Tyler is checking his crew's first jobs.
The busiest time comes around for the outbound comes around 2 o'clock, between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. That's when a lot of our volume is really in the system. and the system's pushing a lot out to the belts for us to process. Right now, I'm looking at when our next inbound aircraft is going to come in. So that aircraft will arrive, it'll block in onto our docks outside, and they'll begin to open that airplane up and unload the containers from there.
It all sounds like a nice, normal routine start to the shift. What Tyler and his crew don't know yet is that the weather will not play nice tonight. The team at the Global Operations Center are dealing with this problem, and all the other ones too. They control all of UPS's flight activities for the entire globe from their center at Worldport. It's 11 p.m. The night shift is starting. In the conference room at the Global Operations Center, the head of the contingency team, Terry Rigdon, is talking to the other team leaders. They are discussing the incidents that arose during the day shift and all the forecasts or warnings for the night ahead.
I talked to TC around, I think it was around 7:30 p.m., and I was totally prepped that the weather forecast looked like we were going to probably be taking a 90-minute hit tonight, because it looked like we had two-hour periods of significant activity that was going to cause a lot of diversions, a lot of delay, a whole lot of op span. And now things look significantly better.
There's a good reason why Terry researches the weather in advance. After all, he's the one who has to make the tough decisions. The sooner his team responds to disruptions, the fewer cancellations and delays there are.
We got a broken plane stuck in Kansas City with thunderstorms. It's going to be like a 60-minute delay there. And one moderate risk of fog at Milwaukee internationally, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, forecasting storms through some Gulf Sea. That's all I got. Thank you.
All right, that's it. The weather forecast was looking like it could be a problem. We still have a risk at a 6Z or in the 5 to 6Z time frame. The good news is we have a very high percentage of our flights have come in at that time. If we start losing 10 or 15 minutes en route, that's critical. That's how tight things are. So that's what we'll have to watch and see how it plays out. But the good news is, as volatile as the weather is out there, there's nothing that seems like it's a real hindrance to the night.
The Global Operations Center at Worldport is the main headquarters for all UPS cargo flight activities for the entire world. The logistics giant flies to 374 airports in the U.S., as well as 313 other airports worldwide. During peak periods, one plane takes off or lands every minute in Louisville. Another challenge facing the team in the GOC: coming up with contingency plans as quickly as possible. Rerouting flights due to bad weather or delaying takeoff for the planes. Tolerating a waiting period to be able to transport more freight in one go. All this decides whether the packages arrive on time or not. (11:45 at night). Terry finds himself confronted with one question more than any other. How do I get my freight to the customer on time?
And this network is built to get flights to their gateways to move volume to its necessary sorts in order to make service. In one sense, the most exciting is when we have problems to solve.
And this applies to tonight, too.
They had a probe heat ICUS message that was displayed, which that's a normal message. It doesn't go away until they start the engines. So I guess the crew's been flying a 7.6 and has not seen the 7.5 display in a while, so just had a little confusion there.
We had that happen on another one here not too long ago.
It did.
Luckily, it's just a small misunderstanding. Human errors are still the most common reason for delays. However, a completely different type of delay is looming. The call delivers some bad news for Terry.
Stephen, it's Terry. How you doing tonight? Hey, well, you're okay other than the ETAs were looking a little challenging. As good as the weather forecast went inside the room a while ago with meteorology, we've just been put on an operations ban for the last, since 7 after. But unfortunately, at this point, you can't unload any airplanes, so you can't feed the hub.
An operations ban, the absolute worst case scenario. And UPS doesn't just rely on any old weather forecast. The Global Operations Center has a weather station with its own meteorologists. They check forecasts from all over the world and change flight routes accordingly, or even bring activities in Louisville to a complete stop. Safety always comes first. Ten past midnight. The bad weather over Louisville stops work for Tyler and his crew. No one is allowed to work outside at the moment. The risk of being struck by lightning is too high. Normally, the nighttime rush hour at UPS Worldport is in full swing by this time. This is when most packages are handled, both outside and inside. The operations ban means lost time that is almost impossible to win back. For the world's largest logistics firm with an annual revenue of $66 billion US. While the storm rages on outside, the conveyor belts in the hall are not affected by the ban. Thank goodness. For our motorcycle tank, this means that everything is still on schedule. It's on its way to Seattle. "12:40 at night. The storm moves on. The operations ban is lifted. Out on the tarmac, Supervisor Tyler Sawvell can finally start work again. It's the first plane of his shift, a Boeing 767. The cargo space is only half full. It looks as though Tyler and his team could make up some time.
We try and get it unloaded as fast as possible so we can get the volume into the system. It's got to come off the aircraft, get taken over into our unload.
A lifting platform is supposed to transport every container out of the aircraft. It has to dock carefully. Every last centimeter counts. However, the crew has made an error.
They got to repark this one to align the door.
Just a few minutes later, the second docking attempt is a success. It's a slightly bumpy start to the night. The unusual working hours have now become the norm for Tyler.
I've gotten used to it at this point. I'm pretty used to the schedule now. Sometimes when I'm on vacation and I rotate my schedule to be with my wife, then it's a little hard to transition back, but overall, I'm pretty used to it at this point.
At the moment, the aircraft is 10 minutes late. Tyler motivates his team to make sure Worldport can keep to its planned takeoff slot.
First can will be that 8 right there. So
And you go right, left, right,
right,
left,
left,
right?
right, left.
Regardless of whether it's a partially full 767 or a jam-packed jumbo jet, the processes are generally always the same.
Just a little bit more time on one as opposed to the other, but we've got this load process for both, and we just get them unloaded and we get them loaded back up, so there's not really a like one over the other.
The team starts unloading. Tyler's team is in luck. There are just 10 containers. Half-empty aircraft are not a rare sight. UPS's top priority? Sticking to the delivery times, regardless of capacity level. A full cargo container can weigh up to 6,000 kilograms, and yet 2 men are able to maneuver it without a great deal of effort. This is thanks to something known as ball mats, which are installed in the floor of the aircraft loading area. The ball mats are made of steel or sheet steel case. They are surrounded by a number of ball joints, which allow the ball mats to move in any direction without generating a lot of friction. This ball mat system significantly reduces the level of friction. This is the only system that enables humans to move heavy containers with ease. These special ball mats are used in aircraft construction. UPS is a pioneer and transferred this technology throughout the entire Worldport site. From the aircraft to the unloading stations, on any part of the journey that a container takes here. This saves an enormous amount of time. Every centimeter of space on an aircraft counts, which is why UPS only uses containers that have rounded corners on the top for maximum utilization of the load capacity per cargo plane. – 1:30 in the morning. Terry Rigdon is dealing with the next problem. An airplane is due to collect some more freight in Kansas City and bring it to Worldport. However, it's got a technical problem. There are 2 options available: repair the plane during a stopover, or head straight to Louisville. But
However, there's weather right at Kansas City and mostly to the north, but it is right on their edge. It's going to be a challenge. If we don't have any delays getting in there, then we should make it. But it'll be tight without any additional weather delay. Any additional weather delay, and it's out.
the best option would be for the plane to come straight to Louisville. This way, at least some of the goods will arrive on time. But to achieve this, it would have to reroute to avoid a storm, and fuel levels are low.
This Kansas City flight, I'm not feeling good about that because, again, if on my screen here, I've got a nice weather. I mean, the weather above Kansas City. And so the question is there a better option? You know, what's your hold fuel like? You know, is there a chance to swing around?
Terry's colleagues are in constant contact with the pilots. They're the only ones who know whether there is enough fuel left to change the flight route, and how the technical problem will affect the aircraft.
What's up?
A storm ahead of them, but it's moving south. So it looks like we're going to get in, but you're not going to get the volume for your sort tonight. It is not going to time out. But we're going to take the tail there anyway because of the fuel.
The plane doesn't have enough fuel to fly to Louisville without a stopover. The pilots have to land in Kansas City so that engineers can take care of the technical problem. The aircraft will continue its journey to Worldport once this is sorted out.
More updates when we have something. I'm sure you guys probably didn't have a ton of work out there anyway with that right now. Yeah, you're going to have to get that. Hey, Jason. Hey, Kansas City, it's not going to work out. So we've accepted that now.
Terry now has to activate special contingency plans to get the packages to customers as quickly as possible. Important information for all units at UPS Worldport, which are in constant contact with one another. A delay or even cancellation means that less freight will arrive tonight than originally planned. The Global Operations Center passes on all news concerning flight disruptions and the resulting loading problems to OPC. The staff at OPC then communicate delays like an operations ban or a cancellation of specific flights to the supervisors on the individual ramps. The first people to receive the message are Samuel Johnson and his team at the Operations Planning Control Center.
Mother Nature has thrown us a curveball as far as lightning in the air park area, but between GOC and the entire OPC team here, we worked through that to minimize the impact to our outbound departures.
Our motorcycle tank is not affected by the delay. Its plane, a Boeing 747, is due to land in the next few hours, as scheduled. 2 in the morning. Tyler Sawvell and his crew are already unloading the next aircraft. They got their first plane ready for takeoff within 30 minutes. As a result, they were able to make up a good 50% of the time they lost due to the operations ban.
They like to see who can do it the best. I mean, their first focus is that they do it safely. So that's the number one competition, is who can do it the safest. But after that, they do like to see who can unload and load faster than the others. I mean, there's a little bit of rivalry there. We've got to stay on pace. So when the plane comes in, we've got to have crews ready to immediately get up there and begin unloading the aircraft. Every window that you miss is an opportunity lost.
After leaving the aircraft, the containers roll their way to the core. This is the heart of UPS Worldport, where the containers are parked at one of over 200 positions and then unloaded. Staff sort the incoming freight. Packages on one conveyor belt, envelopes and documents in sacks on another. The general rule is, as few pairs of hands should touch the packages as possible. Ideally, just 3. 1 when loading and 1 when unloading the containers. And the third? 1 worker has to place the packages on the conveyor belt so that the barcode is in the right position. Sorting packages by hand, a process that has remained unchanged since package delivery began. And that was all the way back in the mid-17th century. To begin with, customers paid to have their packages delivered depending on the value of the contents. Nowadays, they pay according to size and weight. UPS has been handling packages in Louisville since 1982. However, it was not until the turn of the century that the area became the USA's largest handling facility, going by the name of Worldport. Its basis remains the same to this day: conveyor belts. The only difference is with automation. Packages move more quickly and efficiently. 2:45 in the morning at Worldport. Our package with the motorcycle tank is on its last few meters through the jungle of conveyor belts. Today, it is just one of the 2.9 million packages that UPS will handle in the USA as a whole. Supervisor Tyler Sawvell is responsible for making sure the freight containers are loaded properly. This includes our motorcycle tank. It has already covered hundreds of kilometers of conveyor belt. And yet, it still has a 3,000-kilometer flight to Seattle ahead of it. it will be joined by hundreds of other packages in the container.
Things can get stressful, especially on nights where we have heavier volume than normal or there's changes within the sort. It can definitely get stressful, but we plan for those kind of things. We've got a good team and a good group of people that work here, so we're able to work through that, but there's definitely some pressure.
The crew has recovered most of the time it lost. Most aircraft are taking off on time or with minimal delays. In just a few hours' time, our parcel will also continue on its journey in a sealed container. At 3:30 a.m. Terry Rigdon's shift in the Global Operations Center is coming to an end. Tonight's incidents included a 30-minute ban on operations and an aircraft that failed to reach Worldport as scheduled. Not ideal for a man like Terry. His mission is to do everything possible to make sure every package reaches its destination on time.
I'm never happy when weather negatively impacts our ability to get the airplanes out to the customers as timely as we'd like. But aside from that one 30-minute weather hiccup, I would say everything's went pretty well tonight.
Every day, over 1,000 of the logistics giant's worldwide flight segments are controlled from here. With this quantity of flights, the company can cope with one small cancellation. The night shift is slowly coming to an end, and yet our motorcycle tank is still waiting to continue its journey. At 9:30 in the morning. 2 hours before departure, the pilots Elise Atkins and Mike Osley are preparing for their flight. Their job today is to deliver our parcel, together with hundreds of others, directly to Seattle. They have been flying together for years and are a practice team.
Hi, Mike. I'll go get the paperwork.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start checking the weather.
Hi.
The pilots are given their schedules several weeks in advance. What's more, there is an emergency crew waiting at UPS Worldport during every shift, ready to take off in any aircraft within 30 minutes.
All right, well, at least it looks like getting out here today shouldn't be too much of a problem. The small area of weather coming in from the west, but I think the way they have us routed today, it'll take us a little bit to the west and then north, and we'll get around the weather that way. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. It looks like it's good today, so we should have a nice flight.
While Elise and Mike check the final information and weather data, the crews outside are already loading the cargo, including our parcel. And this is not just any chartered aircraft. UPS has been using its own airline to take packages from A to B since the 1980s, covering 220 countries around the world with a team of over 20,000 employees. Day after day and night after night, a total of 300 flights deliver cargo of all shapes and sizes to the right destination. With a fleet of 247 aircraft, UPS Airlines is one of the world's largest, almost as big as the German airline Lufthansa. Lots of cargo calls for lots of space. The Boeing 747-8F is one of the world's largest cargo planes. 134,000 kilograms of freight can be loaded into 700 cubic meters of cargo space. This mega plane is thus big enough to hold up to 50 SUVs. The 747-8F costs over $300 million US. By 2022, UPS Airlines will own more aircraft of this type than any other purchaser. And the plane due to transport our motorcycle tank to Seattle today is a 747. "50 minutes later, and loading is complete. The pilots don't usually know exactly what they're transporting.
Yeah, they really don't tell us what we're carrying necessarily. We would know if there was hazardous materials on board. That's a requirement to notify the captain that they're carrying hazardous materials. But as far as the cargo itself, we see some of the packages inside the containers sometimes, so we know where they may be coming from.
We treat our cargo like they're our passengers, and we want to get it there just as safely as the passenger airline wants to get their passengers there safely.
For several years, UPS carried not just cargo, but passengers too, on weekend charter flights. As passenger airlines and low-cost flights continue to increase, the airline decided in 2001 to better focus exclusively on cargo. It's 11 o'clock, 45 minutes before takeoff. Elise Atkins and Mike Osley take control of their plane. A strict process is in place for the procedure prior to every takeoff. After all, routine cannot prevent errors, especially not when every minute counts.
Yeah, I would say there is more time pressures on us at UPS because we're guaranteeing a delivery time of a package in the morning. So 2 hours late is unsatisfactory for us. We really need to be on time. For instance, a package is arriving into, say, New York City or a major metropolitan area. If we arrive late, the traffic gets on the streets and it's harder to get the packages out for delivery. So we really, our operation is very, very time critical. We watch every minute.
Just a few minutes before the flight, co-pilot Elise Atkins leaves the cockpit for one last exterior check. At the same time, Captain Mike Osley assesses the most important systems inside and adds the final information to the onboard computer.
The weather can be a problem, there's no doubt about it. We spend a lot of time planning before we ever take off for the flight based on the weather. We may carry additional fuel, we may route a different routing in order to avoid weather. We would never fly into a thunderstorm or anything of that nature, but light to moderate, even heavy rain, just rain is okay. The aircraft's certainly capable of that. This aircraft is fully capable of landing itself, as a matter of fact. So when the visibility gets down real low, we can allow the aircraft to land, and there aren't many weather conditions that keep us from getting where we need to be. And again, when we're delivering packages and they have to be there, not going usually isn't an option.
Pushback time for the now 400-ton-plus Boeing 747. At this weight, pilot Mike Osley has to apply full thrust to accelerate to the takeoff speed of over 300 kilometers per hour. 11:45. The cargo plane takes off right on time. It has 3,000 kilometers and a good 4 hours of flight time ahead of it, all the way to Seattle. This city has a huge significance for the company, UPS. After all, this is precisely the spot where Jim Casey founded the American Messenger Company in 1907. He borrowed $100 from his best friend to do it. Jim Casey spotted early on that large vehicles were the best solution for deliveries. When they started, each package was delivered separately, until the company started to load cars with several packages for one part of town. And this is how it remains to this day. Another thing also remains the same to date. The dark brown vehicle, a globally recognized symbol of the brand. 5:15 in Seattle. Our package is completing its final few meters to the customer in this brown van. Delivery agent Richard Williams is making sure the package arrives on time. The minute-by-minute schedule at UPS Worldport ensures that delivery agents have relatively little time pressure.
No, I don't feel any time pressure when I deliver the packages. In the mornings before I start my day, I plan my day so that I can make it through the day up to lunchtime. Then at lunch, I go ahead and redo my schedule again so that I don't have any time commits that I'm worried about.
The delivery process is always the same, all over the world. Scan the package, deliver it, get the customer's signature, and on to the next. For almost 9 million customers, year in, year out.
How you doing?
Well, how are you?
Good, I got one for you all.
All right, thank you.
Can I get you to sign real quick?
Yes.
What's your last name?
Wells.
Thank you, Miss Wells. Have a good day.
You too.
Yet, despite the large number of packages handled every day, not every delivery is the same.
There's one delivery I won't forget. I met a customer at the edge of the package car, and she wanted to know if I deliver her packages to the garage so her children wouldn't see what I got them for Christmas.
Today's delivery may not be a Christmas present, but the customer will soon be able to hit the American highways on his new motorcycle. Mission complete. So, what does it take to make sure millions of packages are delivered on time every single day? You need one of the world's largest aircraft fleets, sophisticated systems capable of moving ton after ton of cargo, hundreds of employees to fill the kilometer-long jungle of conveyor belts, the strongest handling machinery, and a minute-by-minute schedule. In short, you need a giant hub, like UPS Worldport in Louisville, Kentucky.